Oh, fuck both of y'all. That's what I say.
Haha, Dave Chappelle is funny. Always funny. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Cinematic Ventures podcast is back. Gabriel here. Appreciate your time. And it is December. So happy December. Best time of the year for me. Christmas is coming, New Year's Eve. And I think it's a perfect opportunity, a great time to really shine some light on a movie that I've loved for years and years. Ever since I saw it for the first time, I've been a huge fan, seen it multiple times. And especially now, watching it now, years later, you'd be shocked by the amazing cast, all of the great actors that you would see in the movie. And it's a type of movie that I think works really well for this time of the year. New Year, preparation, New Year celebration. Obviously, we have Christmas coming up. So the movie that I will be presenting today, talking a little bit about it, is called 200 Cigarettes. Now, in my opinion, truly one of the most underrated movies ever, honestly. I think it's such a breath of fresh air just watching it. The actors are clearly having a good time. It's a first-time director, actually, Risa Garcia. She's a very, very popular casting director. She's been around forever, and this was her debut. It's technically it's a comedy, 200 Cigarettes, but also there's some pretty, I guess, honest, real moments that kind of make you think. And it's one of those types of ensemble pictures that you just remember. And that's why it's shocking for me that it's still so underrated and very few people actually talk about it. So that's why we're here with the movie. I just want to make sure that even if there's just one person who's interested in this episode and who clicked and listened and they've never seen the movie, even if it's one person who says, hey, that sounds interesting, I might want to see it. I believe you can stream it. It's a Paramount Pictures production. So maybe it's on Paramount Plus. I'm not exactly sure. Of course, as a physical media supporter, I always encourage people to actually get stuff on physical media because you always have it. It's always with you. So, 200 Cigarettes. I want to start first by mentioning, you will be shocked, honestly, by mentioning the incredible cast that we have in this movie. We have the Affleck brothers. We have Ben, Casey here. We have Dave Chappelle, which is one of the roles that a lot of people, I guess, forgot that Dave is in that movie, and he is super funny. He is a cab driver, and his lines are just incredible. You can tell for sure that there was a lot of improv on that set. Certainly. We have Ant-Man himself. Paul Rudd is here. Elvis Costello, Guillermo Diaz, Janine Garofalo, Gabby Hoffman. Kate Hudson, it's here. Courtney Love, Jay Moore, Christina Ricci, Nicole Parker, and on and on and on. The list just continues. It's truly an all-star cast, and it never gets boring. That's the thing with the movie. Now, when it came out, the movie actually came out in the beginning of '99. I believe it was shot in '98. I think Ben shot it after he did Armageddon. And it just, box office wise, it did not really land. So the budget of the movie, it's not like a huge budget, big budget movie. It's around $6-7 million. Unfortunately, it made about 7 worldwide. So it was not a box office hit. Critics, they didn't like it. I don't personally pay that much attention to critics, as you know from the previous episodes. But yeah, it didn't really land with critics, even though I remember back when I used to read reviews, there were a couple of critics who are very positive about the movie. But fact is, the movie kind of disappeared in a way. And looking back, a lot when I mention a movie to the people who actually remember it, they would say, "Oh, that's a Miramax, one of the Miramax movies, or like a Miramax joint." Because when you see the cast, the poster, all of that, you're like, "That's classic Miramax from the '80s, from the late '90s." And just all of the actors, the faces that you see are usually the guys that you would see in Kevin Smith movies, Quentin movies. But no, the truth is, this is actually a co-production between Paramount and MTV, of all places. Yes. So it's an interesting animal, and the movie actually takes place in the '80s. So it's not a '90s movie. It takes place in the '80s. It's about one night, New Year's Eve, and it's this conversion of all of these characters coming together in one way or another. It's a type of movie that works really well when you watch it just a few days before New Year's Eve or even Christmas. Now, it's not really a Christmas movie. I wouldn't go that far, but certainly a movie that brings like a festive experience, festive feeling, and it's hardcore, rated R, so you shouldn't worry about being like PG or made for kids. No, certainly not. It's a story about people in their 20s and 30s, but it's a very much an adult movie with adult themes and some pretty interesting moments, as I already mentioned. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that the interactions between the characters are fun, are very sometimes very honest, very real. You have the situation with Jay Moore and Kate Hudson, which I think it's adorable. Their sequences together. You have obviously Courtney Love and Paul Rudd. That's how the movie starts. It opens with them and Dave Chappelle in the cab, and in a very groovy cab. It's a great kind of a. Can't believe I'm saying this for the '80s, but kind of a retro feeling. It's a great opening for the movie is what I'm saying. So you have those characters, you have the music, and the actual story is interesting. Now, obviously, this is not one linear story with just few characters basically in the same place doing the same thing. No, this is spread all over New York City. So you have characters coming from outside of town. You have the characters of Christina Ricci and Gabby Hoffman, and they're very funny, very funny. Their accents are killing me. Just hilarious, hilarious. And you also have Martha Plimpton. She is actually, I would say, kind of like the center, if there is a center of the movie, because she's preparing a party. And what happens at that party before, who comes, who goes, what's happening. I don't want to spoil it because I think that's part of the charm of the movie, really the unexpected moments. But it's a type of movie that, on one hand, you're kind of shocked that it's not a cult classic, that it's not a movie that more people talk about. But on the other hand, you're like, yeah, there are a lot of examples when we look back of movies with really a stacked cast, really popular characters that just didn't go anywhere, right? But I believe this movie deserves much more recognition. And again, if you're listening to this, even if you still have some doubts, you're like, this is not really my kind of movie, give it a shot. Just watch it, play it, even the first 10 minutes of the movie. I'm sure there will be more than a few moments where you're going to be chuckling and you're going to have fun. And just the opening of the movie, just seeing people just having a good time, really. When you see the opening with Chappelle, Rod, and Courtney in the cab, just having a blast. And at the same time, just discussing life, because it's actually, it's not a big spoiler, but it's the birthday of Paul Rudd's character in the opening of the movie, of the whole night, actually. And he has some revelations, he has some thoughts about it. So it is funny, but it's also real about life. So I think the movie handles everything with, it creates a good balance, as I always say. And it's funny, it's also, I don't want to overuse that word, but I would say original in a way that brings the characters together. It offers the stories. Now, not everything is laugh out loud funny. This is not like Airplane or The Naked Gun, but it's a type of movie that you will remember. Even if you don't remember every single moment from it, years after you've seen it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I do remember. Yeah, Ben Affleck was the bartender. Yeah. Nicole Parker, she kind of liked him. And you have Casey Affleck and Christina Ricci. It's the type of movie that once you see it, it stays with you, even if it's just a few scenes, bits and pieces. So again, unfortunately, when it came out, extremely underrated, just came and went. And I remember I was 14, I think 13 when it came out in 99. And I remember seeing it on magazines, seeing pictures. So before it came out, actually there was a conversation about it. There was some well, I wouldn't call it hype, but certainly there was a discussion about the movie. And then it came and just it didn't land box office wise, and even with the audience. And unfortunately, even on DVD when it came out, it didn't really set the world on fire. But I always remembered it. I remember seeing the movie a few years after it came out, and I was I think on a Ben Affleck marathon, and I was like, 200 cigarettes. Like, yeah, am I gonna like this? But then I checked the cast, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not really in the mood for this type of ensemble picture comedy stuff. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna see it. I'll check it out. I ended up loving it. I ended up really having a great time, and it's one of those movies that we don't really see nowadays. Or if we see, it'll be on a streamer, and it would be even like it'll be quickly forgotten, kind of like what happened to the movie now. I mean, the movie got a full theatrical release back in '99, and it didn't really perform. So let alone on a streamer now. So I guess those types of movies are kind of, in a way, of course, there are some examples. You have American Pie, also ensemble picture, and it's like legendary at this point. But there are also movies that deserve more recognition. But even as time goes by, these movies don't get the attention that they deserve. 200 Cigarettes, I think it's one of the best examples of that. A movie that, in my opinion, and I've been fortunate enough to recommend it to quite a few people at this point. Honestly, there was literally one person out of everyone that I talked to who said, well, not my cup of tea. I appreciate it, right? All of that, but not my cup of tea. All of the other people that I recommended a movie to, they loved it. They loved it. They just love the characters, especially now when we know better a lot of those actors. And just seeing them in that movie, seeing them like, oh, really? Like Dave Chappelle and Paul Rudd are together. They have this funny banter in the cab, in the taxi. Like it's amazing. It's amazing. So it's a type of movie that I will always recommend to people. It doesn't matter what age you are. Even if you're 55, you were still 20 at one point. So you can definitely relate to what these characters are going through. Again, this is not an episode where I'm gonna spoil the movie, or I'm gonna reveal even small bits and pieces. I think I already revealed a lot, dear listener. So apologies for that. But trust me, the movie offers a lot of surprises. I'm not here to claim that this is a life-changing movie, or that this is a movie that it will stay with you and it'll be your all-time favorite movie. Not at all. It's the point with these episodes that I'm doing now is really to shine some light on movies that I really believe are fairly, unfairly, whatever you want to call it, completely underseen. Is that a word? I don't know. But really movies that a lot of people don't remember. And we live in a world, unfortunately, where people throw the word underrated left and right, right? When you see, I literally saw, I think was for Reservoir Dogs, Quentin's movie. Someone said, oh, such a great movie, so underrated. And I'm like, underrated? Do you know what underrated means? I've even seen this description being used for movies like The Matrix. And I have a feeling, unfortunately, I don't know if it's an age generational thing, or people really don't know what underrated means. But a movie like Reservoir Dogs or The Matrix, this is not underrated. These are hugely popular, hugely successful, widely seen movies that everyone knows. So no, underrated, I would say it fits perfectly a movie like the one I'm discussing right now, 200 Cigarettes. That's an underrated movie. A movie that when it came out, people did not remember, even at the end of 99. And we all know 99 was one of the best years for cinema in terms of pop culture sensations. You have The Matrix, The Sixth Sense, you have American Pie, you have so many amazing movies, American Beauty, movies that just stay with us forever. So in a way, 200 Cigarettes was kind of left out, like completely overshadowed by the competition. And I knew it back then. I knew it was happening, and it's actually a type of movie that it's kind of difficult to find these days, honestly. Even finding, I'm lucky enough to have the DVD. I would love a Blu-ray transfer, certainly. I think the movie looks great, but it's a type of movie that it's really underrated, and it fits the description perfectly. I wish it was more popular. I really think that it will eventually. Maybe someone will pick it up, like parts of it, and a lot of parts of that movie are meme worthy. So if someone who makes memes gets their hands on that movie, oh my God, it'll be a treasure trove of meme moments, lines, scenes. It's just that good, in my opinion. And I'm perfectly open. If there's a listener right now, if you're listening and you've seen that movie and you don't like it, you hate it, let me know, right? I would love to have a discussion. I would love to invite people, right? The thing is that the people that I know, very few have actually seen the movie, right? And I always have to push for it in a way. Now, I wanna make it clear. I'm not like fanboying here. This is not like, oh, this is my all-time favorite movie and I'm just plugging it. I'm just pushing it. No, I wouldn't say it's one of my all-time favorites, but it's certainly a movie that I really like. Certainly. And a movie that I would like to own if I don't have it. I already have it, thankfully. So I guess in a weird way, I guess that qualifies it as a favorite movie. So I guess so be it, right? I'm not gonna I'm not gonna apologize for this movie. I'm not gonna say things that are not true. Just make it like it's more special than it is, or like it's this grand cinema event that needs to be seen by everyone. No, it's a great effort by I believe a capable director, a tight script, a really a cast that's full on. It's they're game on, right? They're just having a blast, and it's a movie that deserves a better transfer, like 4K Blu-ray or even a Blu-ray. It doesn't matter, but certainly a movie that I believe would click with the audience more than it did back in 99 or 2000. Again, I could be 100% wrong. Could be a movie that people completely rail against. Perfectly fine, right? Different opinions. I'm okay with that. The reason I'm doing this episode is really just to show my appreciation for a truly underrated movie. And I'm going to keep doing that for a couple of other movies that really deserve more recognition, in my opinion. I'm sure there will be people who disagree. Fair enough. It's perfectly fine. We all have different opinions. But 200 Cigarettes, certainly a must-see movie. If you really love movies, comedy movies, but comedy movies with a little bit of brain, let's put it that way. This is not a parody. This is not a movie where you're going to see like Leslie Nielsen jumping in. And don't get me wrong, I love Leslie Nielsen. Like The Naked Gun, Airplane, it's just all-time favorites. But this is just a different type of movie. And you will be surprised by some of the faces you're going to see in the movie. And I think that really works well because each scene, every scene that changes, it changes to a story that like, oh, okay, I wonder where these guys are now. What's happening to them? So there's always something happening. I always say this is one of those movies that you can say, hey, I'm not a fan of it, not my cup of tea and all of that, but at least you're not bored. At least it's not boring because there's always something happening. There's so many different characters. You may not even like all of the characters. Perfectly fine, right? But it's still an experience that if you're in a mood for a movie with zero CGI, it's all about dialogue, it's all about characters, it's all about interesting situations and how all of these characters, and again, this is not something we've never seen before. We've seen it many times in movies, but it's always interesting when you see how at the end of the movie everything gets together, how things combine, how people end up, how these characters end up, what happens to them. Is there someone who deserves more, or someone who gets treated unfairly? It's all of those questions, and it's just a pleasure of watching actors having a good time. So this will be for this episode. I really just wanted to do a quick one for this movie that really, really is, I think, the epitome of being underrated. So if you're able to find it, again, I really have to double check if it's actually streaming, because streaming is different. Streaming is one thing. I'm now in London. There are movies that stream in London that don't stream in Asia, right? Or the rest of Europe or the US. So everything is different. But definitely check it out. However you want, you can watch it. I don't know if it's on YouTube. I don't think so. But my advice would be try to watch it on a big screen, preferably good quality, at least DVD, even though it's not perfect. But it's a type of movie that you need to see. You need to see on with a good quality. Exactly, because I would say even the visual, it's not really like a quote unquote visual type of movie, like crazy camera moves and all of that, but it's still a beautifully shot movie. It really creates a great cozy feeling watching it. So find a movie. I will put in the link section if I find some links, maybe to Amazon for the DVD or the streaming service. And if you can watch it, trust me, it's the perfect time. It's December now, officially. It is a movie about a New Year's Eve, and a movie that I'm 100% sure that most of the listeners right now have never seen, or some of them probably have never even heard of. And you would be shocked, I'm sure, when you click on Google 200 cigarettes and you see the cast, and you're like, I can't believe I've never seen that movie, right? So it could definitely be a pleasant surprise. And again, as I mentioned, even if you end up not liking it, it's still, as a fan of the movie, I thank you for taking the time to listen to the episode and giving the movie a shot. So this is just the beginning of a series of episodes that I'm going to do about movies that are truly underrated. Not movies like Shawshank Redemption, because even about Shawshank Redemption, I've seen people say such an underrated movie. In a way, it was back in '94, but certainly from 2023 point of view, it's not an underrated movie. So, what I'm going to do with the future episodes, some of them, not all, of course, would be to really bring up some movies that either some of you have seen or you completely forgot about, or movies that have amazing casts and you're like, I can't believe I've never seen this. So I think that's interesting. I always think that movies deserve a second life, and that's the good thing about cinema. A lot of movies, when they are first shown in the movie theaters, when they're first released, they could be completely ignored. But then 10 years later, 5 years later, there's like this resurgence. People are discovering movies left and right. There are plenty of examples of that. Recently, the most recent one that I heard was Cat in the Hat from 2003, Mike Myers, Bo Welch. I remember when the movie came out, people were completely, pardon my French, shitting on it. But now, more than, 20 years later, exactly, at this point, there's like this huge renewed interest. So even Bo Welch, the director of the movie, he did like an interview and he said how surprised he was that people are now discovering the movie. So there you go. Hopefully one day, maybe clearly it hasn't happened by now, but hopefully one day same thing will happen with 200 cigarettes. And hopefully my little episode will, even if it's just a tiny, tiny bit, even if it just makes one person to go and search for that movie and check it out, I'd be happy. So thank you for listening. Appreciate your time. As always, I'll be back with another episode. And I hope you get to see 200 cigarettes. I really do. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Appreciate your time. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll be back very, very soon with another interesting episode. I'll do my best to keep you entertained. Signing off, Gabriel. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.